Good day, everybody. I hope that you are well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today we'll be sorry. Today we'll be doing our grade 8 English lesson on addresses. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once you've logged on to aplusstudents.ca, with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of English language arts. We're doing grade 8. And then we're going to scroll down up until we get to our chapter of addresses. All right. So our chapter is addresses. Sorry. Our subject is English language arts. We're doing grade 8. And the lessons that we are going to be focusing on under the chapter of addresses is formatting street addresses. All right. So when it comes to street addresses, right? Not even when it comes to addresses, then we always start with writing our, or let's say before we even go to addresses, in our previous lesson we did capitalization and we spoke about the different words, different titles, um, monuments, historical events that we need to capitalize. So the same with, if we're linking it to this lesson now, addresses, right? We need to capitalize, for example, names of street addresses or addresses. We need to capitalize names of states. So when it even comes to writing addresses, right, you need to capitalize also. If we were to link it to our lesson today, then you need to also capitalize the proper words, or let's say you need to capitalize the specific words properly with um capitalization or without. Right. And then when it comes to capitalization, once again, or not even capitalization, when it comes to addresses. So now we're coming to today's lesson, which is addresses. Nowadays, we don't really have pen pals, right? So back in the day, we had pen pals. It's where you used to write letters to maybe friends, either in different states, in different continents, right? Or you just used to write letters. And then you need to go to the post office and you need to post this letter, right? And you need to have the proper address in order for you to send the specific letter. If the address is wrong, it will not reach the specific address or the specific place or person that you want to send this letter to, right? So even nowadays, because we don't have pen pals, we don't write letters no more, because nowadays everything is on our phones. We can literally send a quick and easy SMS, which people don't even do anymore. But we can either send a quick and easy WhatsApp message. We can send messages on TikTok. We can send messages on Instagram, Facebook, you name it, right? But when it comes to addresses, you still need to know your address, especially because nowadays what has become such a norm is doing online purchases, right? And where am I getting to it with this? You need to know how to formulate and format a specific or proper street address. You don't want your package to arrive in a different state, but with your same address. Because remember, you'll have different states, but you will have the same street address, right? So we're going to find out how to format your street address. And when we format our street address, right? So, sorry. When we format a street address, you need to first start with your with your house number, right? So I'm gonna make up a street address, right? So you need to start with your house number, which is maybe number 59, right? So number 59, that is the house number, right? So you did a Shein order or a Timu order, or you ordered something online from a specific company, and now they need to come and deliver. So you need to deliver to number 59. You need to deliver to Kensington. You see, I'm starting with a capital letter. For example, Kensington's, let's say lane, right? So instead of writing the full word lane, we can basically abbreviate this word by putting a period. So this is your street address, your street name. So this is first the house number. The house number in which street? I live in Kensington Lane, for example. Where in Kensington Lane do you live? In Williamsville. And remember, this is just me making up a address, right? And then you need to comma after that word. So this is our city. I'm gonna put in here city. That is the city in which you live in. So you live in the house number. I'm gonna put your house number. That's the house number. Then over here, we have the street address, right? That's a street address. This is a city, comma. Then you need to write your state in which you live, right? And the state in which you live, let's say, for example, like I am from South Africa. So instead of writing the whole word South Africa, I can just say SA. Because your state, I'm going to put your state, needs to be abbreviated. So your state abbreviation. So the state needs to be abbreviated. And then you need to write, after that, you need to write your zip code. 7764. I don't know how your zip code looks, but you need to write your zip code. Right? So this is basically how we write or format an address. You have the house number, you have the street address, which street, which lane. It needs to be abbreviated or short. Williamsville, the city in which you live, the state in which you live, and the zip code. Sorry, and the zip code. Right? Now you know my package will be delivered on time to the correct address. Right? So on the first line, so this is going to be the second line. This is going to be the third line. On the first line, who is the package addressed to? If you are sending something to someone else, then it means that you're going to have to write that person's name on the package. Or if it's being addressed to you, your name will be on on the package, and that will be the first line. This is the second line, and this is on the third line, right? But keeping in mind, this is when you write. This is how you're writing an address. You need to have your house number, the street name or address, the city, your state in which you live in. It needs to be abbreviated. And remember, when it's abbreviated, we also, okay, just abbreviate it. And then you write your zip code. Right? All right, so now we're going to aplusstudents.ca and we are going to continue by looking at more examples and errors, or how we can fix errors when it comes to addresses. All right, so now we're going to A plus students and we're going to format street addresses. All right. So here they say, when you write an address, right? If you're addressing something to someone in the form of, I'm not even going to say a letter, I'm going to say in the form of a package, right? If you are sending a gift to someone, then in the first line, when you are, for example, about to send your gift to somebody, in the first line, you need to include a period after M. So now you're addressing it to Mr. or Miss whoever or Mr. whoever, depending on who you are sending the gift to. Of course, if you may be sending it to your parents or grandparents or whoever, you need to say Mr. and Mrs. But if you're only, addressing it or sending it to one person, if it's a male, it is Mr. If it's a female, it is Miss. The person is married, it is Mrs. Right? So on the first line, uh, you'll basically write down who you are going to address it to. So I'm going to address it to Miss Nadine. You're actually supposed to write my surname. Let's say you're addressing something to me, but now you need to write the surname of the person over there. Then in the second line, you need to include a period after, for example, over here. So here we have the second line, we have the house number. There's your house number. And you have your street name. So your house number as well as your street name. That is in the second line or on the second line. And then on the third line, right? They say do not include a comma after NY. But here we have our city capitalized. We have our state that is abbreviated. So the state is abbreviated. And then we have our zip code, and that is on the third line. Right? So that is basically how you need to format an address. And once again, you do not want your package to land up in a different state or at a different address, right? So, which means that you need to write that correctly. You need to show who it is addressed to, especially if you're writing it to someone else or addressing it to someone else or sending it to someone, right? So, in the first line, you need to write who you're addressing it to. It's either Mr. someone, Miss someone, and the surname. Mr. and Mrs. and the surname, depending on who you are sending the package to. In the second line, we have our basically a house number and the street name. And then on the third line, and remember with the street name, right? Whether it is lane or street or or drive or avenue, you need to put a period after the last word. And then on the third line, you have your city, comma. Then you have your state abbreviated, no comma. And then we have our zip code. All right. So now we're going to look at a few activities where we are going to correct errors when it comes to formatting our address, right? Here it says we need to format and punctuate the addresses correctly by fixing three errors. So they're already telling us that there are three errors within this address. So we're going to underline the errors that we will see within that sentences, or let's say within that address. All right. So now if we look at the first one, it says Mr. and Mrs. period Hutchinson, right? So which means that already if you look at the first line, you need to add a period after Mr. There needs to be a period after Mr. The next one says 1578 Belmont PKWY. What do you think might be the error within that line or somewhere in that line? And if you look at the error that must be in this line, you must say there needs to be a period after PKWY. That is when you're writing an address, write the period after PKWY. And then lastly, then remember they said we need to have three errors. Here's the first error, here's the second error. Now let's look at this line, Corona, comma, NY, comma, 11368. What do we need to fix within that line? And if we look at that line, then we should not add a y there. There must be a comma. There should be no comma, right? And that is our three errors that we have identified within that address or that street address or that address in general, right? But once again, keeping in mind, right, if this is your street address, in the first line, you write whoever it is addressed to. In the second line, you write your street, your house number and street name. And in the third line, you write the city, the state, and the zip code, right? All right, so now we're going to our test. Formatting street addresses. And we're going to format and punctuate the address correctly by fixing one error. So we're basically going to be formatting and punctuating addresses correctly. All right. It says Mrs. Jenny Chang, 5985 Lawrence Lane, Williamsville, VT 05362. We need to fix one error within that address. Is it option one? Right? Look at option one compared to that one and look at option two. We need to fix the error. But both is actually the same and it's not actually fixing the error for us. Unless the second one has got an added number by the zip code. So if we were to choose the correct one, I think we'll go with the first one, even though Lawrence was supposed to be capitalized. So the first one is correct. We need to fix three errors. It says format and punctuate the address correctly by fixing the three errors within this address. It's addressed to Mrs. Laura Doyle, 8472 Street, the house name number, Hudson Road Street address, or street name, Lowland, comma, NC, and there we have the zip code. Which one is correct? We need to fix the three errors. All right, and if we were to choose the correct one, first of three errors, right? Laura needs to be capitalized because the name of a person needs to be capital letter. Lowland, the city needs to be capitalized. The state needs to be, both of that letters needs to be capitalized, right? But we'll go with option one because option two has got an added number on the zip code. So we'll go with option one. We need to format and punctuate the address correctly by fixing two errors. Mr. and Mrs. Huffman, 7449 Lake PKWY. Lions, WI 53148. Which one? We need to select the two errors or fix the two errors. Two errors by that address. Is it option one or option two? Sorry. And if we were to identify or fix the two errors, right? Then the two errors that needs to be fixed within that sentence, not the sentence, the address, right? After lions, there needs to be a comma, and there should be no comma after the state. But here, if we were to choose the correct one, we will choose the first one because there is an added number. So we'll go with option one. So now we need to format and punctuate the address correctly by fixing the three errors. So we need to select three errors. It says Mr. and Mrs. Hutchinson. Hutchinson. So Mr. and Mrs. Hutchinson. The house number is it's 1573. Belmont PKWY. Corona, comma, NY, comma, and then we have the zip code, which is 113. 368. And if we were to format and punctuate the address correctly by fixing the three errors, then if we look at the first one, Mr., after Mr. needs to be a period. So after Mr., there needs to be a period. So that's the first error. The second one, after PKWY, there needs to be a period also at the end of that word. And then there should be no comma after the state. Right? So that is our three errors. And if we were to choose the correct option over here, I think we'll go with the first one again because here, once again, the zip code has got an extra number. So the first one is correct. All right, let's look at the next one. It says we need to format and punctuate the address correctly by fixing three errors. So once again, we have three errors, right? So it is Bella Carter to Devon CIR. Norwalk, comma CA. And then our zip code, which is 90650. We need to fix three errors within that address. Three. And if we were to fix the three errors, then after CIR, there needs to be a period. CA needs to be capitalized. And I don't know if by Bella Carter you need to also have either a Mr. or a Miss or something in front of that, right? But we'll go with the first one. All right, and now the last one. We need to format and punctuate the address correctly by fixing the two errors. All right, we have Dr. Elif is advanced. Then we have the house number 7442, 6th Street, Linville, NC, and then we have our zip code. We need to fix two errors. And if we were to fix our two errors, the first error would be doctor needs to be capitalized. And Linville needs to be capitalized, right? And we will choose the first option. All right, so this is the end of our lesson on addresses. Remember when we write addresses, remember we said that we are sending packages to and from, we are buying online. So which means that you need to format your street address correctly in order for you to get your necessary package, to get your necessary things that is being sent to you, on time and in a correct manner. So you need to have the title of whoever you're sending it to correctly, the house number, the street name, right? As well as the city, comma, state, as well as the zip code. All right, so this is now the end of our lesson on addresses. Thank you very much, grade 8s, for joining the class. And I really hope that you're going to have a good evening further. Goodbye.